First off, big welcome to this webinar. It is so great to have you all here, interested in hearing more about setting your business up for a profitable 2023. So actually, for your information, this is our first customer webinar, but surely not the last. And the timing here is not a coincidence. We want to help you wrap up 2022 and start looking into 2023. So as you can see, I am not Maria, as the initial invitation said. Unfortunately, she is sick. But you did get me instead, and my name is Hannes, and I've already seen some familiar names in here, and that is because I work as an implementation manager here at Younium. So I have actually worked with many of you, which was and is, of course, great fun. So with me here is Linda.
Yes, hi everyone. So nice to see so many of you joining us today. My name is Linda, as Hannes just said, and I work as a customer success manager here at Younium. And also we will be, as Hannes mentioned, we'll be giving you some insights, hopefully this upcoming 30 minutes.
Exactly. And for your information, we are recording this session. We will not be having a live Q&A. But what we will be doing is having a full control over the chat to get back to you. So please, during the webinar, feel free to send the questions there, and those will be summarized. And together with the recording, we will send it back to you via text, which is the main idea. But in means of time, at the end, we might have some spare time to answer some of them. But let's get to that later. To kick this off, we will be giving, we're going to give you really two different takes on this, and we're going to have a poll in the end of each part. So you will find the information about this poll on your screen. So it will be a pop-up. Yes.
All right, great. Thank you, Hannes. But with this said, why did we gather so many of our customers here today?
All right. So going into a new year normally is both nervous and exciting, but going into 2023 could feel like the pressure is on even more than before. And we realized this from talking to many of you, and we've seen that there really is a common aim for 2023, which is a larger focus on profit than before, maybe rather than relying on further investment. So the birth or the goal of this webinar was really to give you some sort of an insight in tools. And I think mainly what I want to give to you today is ideas and to spark some thoughts and to plant some seeds on how you can use Younium to minimize your revenue leakage and really help with a steady cash flow during 2023.
All right, that's great. Thank you. But now, what will we cover first and why?
Exactly. So the thing that I want to highlight here is the power of looking within the already existing business. So we do not want to focus on investments today, on how or when to get them. We will not even be focusing on new sale or how we can attract more customers. But really what we want to focus on today is your core business and the value that you are essentially already providing for your existing customers. So your existing customers, they are who brought you here today, and we want to keep the focus on them and keep that focus even when the road now gets a bit more bumpy.
Absolutely, that's a good point, especially in times like this. Could you tell us more on how we could do that more precisely?
Exactly. So been very general so far, but that's maybe not the reason why you all joined today. We want to be a little bit more specific here. So just to start off, I will only go into real details in one out of these three sections, but please feel free to reach out to us if there's anything you're wondering about the other two. So the first one is just to keep a good overview of your current account and order base. And I know, or we know, that many of you are tracking MRR, you are tracking upsells, for example, upsells per product. But what we want to enable you is to open new doors, to find new ways of analyzing. And some just thoughts about this is, you could create custom fields so that we can segment your customers in new ways, for example, ways you hadn't thought of before that might be necessary in 2023. You could also create, for example, a tag on invoice line so that we can follow and really follow the development of a tailored report to your benefit. So I will not show this in this demo, but these are really essential parts, but they can be very specific for your use cases. So once again, going back to that, feel free to reach out to us to discuss how you can really leverage this and not just have it there. The second thing that I want to mention is we have a standard widget that is called, revenue per product. So we know it's a favorite for many of you. We do think that this is a way of getting really good understanding of which product that provides the most revenue and value for you, and maybe, essentially analyze this and see, can we move any old customers over to this product, or can we change the model of other products to be closer to what this one that is really bringing in a lot of value is doing? So this can give you more intel about that. And, if you want to change the price plan or model on a current product, this will also enable you to make sure to, compare the outcome of it compared to how it was before and now how it is after the change. Once again, not something I will show more in depth, but just to spark your ideas and to spark your thoughts on how you can utilize Younium in this way. But of course, now, Linda, last but not least, the almighty adjust order tool. So this is what I will actually focus on mostly here, as we see it as a key element of leveraging Younium, really to a maximum level. So if we break it down, don't we really recommend all customers to at least explore this?
Yes, most definitely. But I say, what kind of possibilities should we look for in our contracts? And this should already be uploaded into Younium, right?
Exactly. So as we've said now in the beginning here, this is the time when times do get tougher to take advantage of already existing customers, and the small changes sound weird to take advantage of new customers, but I mean really looking into the details of what small changes we can make in the details of these contracts. So there are really three scenarios that we notice with our customers that are quite common scenarios where the adjust order tool would definitely help. So I will present these three, and the reason for that is not because that's something we at Younium made up. It's really because we've heard it from you, and you in the audience here today have multiple times or from multiple different ways expressed this to us. So don't focus too much on this slide yet. I will get into it, but so just bear with me while I present these scenarios first. So one way is that we never really negotiated in our contracts that the deal can be increased or made an upsell on automatically, that we didn't make this deal like that originally, but you can look into it to see, is there something that you are able to negotiate now upon renewals? So what does your contract really state? And can you find a way of indexating or adjust, in a dream world, maybe the whole order, but maybe parts of it, or maybe only, details of a specific charge in contracts going forward. But the other ways, or the other scenario, which we have seen customers in, is that you have the right to follow up on a recurring charge throughout the year, depending on different parameters, meaning to change it and to change the price. But historically, many of you have seen it as the effort is bigger than the outcome and what it's worth in the end. So the effort going in and the value coming back is just not been worth it. Quite common example there, I would say, is that we do hear from some of you that we are allowed to follow up on this monthly or quarterly to, for example, the extent of how they're using your platform, but it's just too much work, so we only check it annually. And this is also a scenario that could be solved with the order adjustment tool. The last really important part where we've seen you is that maybe you are allowed to change it, and maybe it's supposed to be applied, but you just haven't had the information about these small changes either in front of you or maybe not even on the Younium orders. So you haven't really had the tools to go through with them, even though you're supposed to do it. And just doing that before invoicing has become too cumbersome, and therefore you might miss some smaller adjustment that could bring added value and added revenue. Either way, I would like to show this order adjustment tool or adjust order tool. So if we break all these three components down and all these three situations down, really what we're doing is that we're changing a big or even massive amount of data in one go. That is what we're doing. So now focusing a little bit on the screen here. So in order to find this, many of you might know it already, but you would go to orders and in the top right corner, hit adjust order tool. And in there, this is the view that you would be getting. So it makes you able to specify what you would like to change, how you would change it, and to who and to what you are changing it. So these three stages of looking at what are we changing, how are we changing it, and specifying the criteria that to who or to what are we changing it. So a really common scenario here, as you can see, hopefully you can see it's scenario on the screen here as well, is that we indexate, for example, only recurring charges at a certain percentage. In this scenario, I put 3%. And then I would pick that it's for next renewal date, and I've chosen price as the updated as the field to be updated. So the best practice is really to narrow this down to what you're changing and starting from the top. So as you can see, I put in the criteria, a very broad and general criteria that it's only for recurring charges. But I know in many of your cases, that doesn't do it. We need to have more details than that. So, or you need to filter it down more. So if necessary, we can add custom fields beforehand in order to make specific charges unique. So you can target these specific charges for the purpose of a price change. So this more information about this is, we actually have quite good Zendesk article on this purpose or on this topic. But of course, you can reach out to us if there's any specific you need to adjust before actually applying this. But before I move on here, I just want to emphasize that at the top left here, we have the option to either apply it or to preview the changes. And that is what will give us to the next step. So the difference there is, of course, applying actually applies this across the charges that has been targeted and makes the necessary order adjustments or an upsell, hopefully. So looking into the next slide here, we can actually see there based on the criteria, and we choose to preview it. Then we'll get to the goal here. So make sure to use the preview function, despite regardless of if you're actually planning on applying these changes or if you're just exploring the tool. You can still preview it to see what effect would this have on our business, on our organization. So when you click preview, what will happen is that you will see two things, both a list and a summary of the affected charges. So you can see on line level what would happen and what the increase would be. But also you can see a summary of it, meaning that what would this mean in a bigger term. So this is why I would really like to mention that if you're exploring the tool and you click preview, a small change of 1% can be very profitable if made on a large scale. And using this tool, you can actually compare if you're going to renegotiate deals going forward, if we should do this 1% increase on one product or the other, for example. Because here you will be able to see the actual metrics of the effect that this would have. So just to wrap up here, something I really would encourage you in doing is that if you don't have this in your contracts today, and you're not actually going to carry this out, use this tool anyway and see how you can do this in the most profitable way going forward when you renegotiate in the future. So just to make sure here, if you do this, on my recommendation, please only preview and do not apply this across all your orders, because this would really trigger the preview and apply it. So then Matilda in support would be really happy with me when customers say that I've recommended them doing this in a webinar. So please make sure to preview if the purpose is not to apply it. But I think I covered most of what I wanted to cover here. And Linda, I've been talking a lot now, so I think we're more curious to see and hear from the audience a little bit, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's an amazing tool, so good to talk. But we will of course, we want to know what you in the audience think of this. If you use this today, or if you feel like using it in the future, or if maybe you don't have the need for it.
Exactly. So you should have a poll appearing right now. Right, we see some answers coming in, hence the silence.
Well, it seems that like many uses the tool already.
Exactly. So this is really interesting. Great. We should be sharing the result now as well. So just a little bit of a comment here is that great if you are using this tool already. I hope you still got a little bit of an insight in how you can utilize it further. And we have at least 7 people here that would like to start using the tool. So I guess you'll have some work to do going forward now, Linda. And so that is great.
Awesome.
Let's get into the next phase here. So we have been talking about the adjust order tool, but Linda, what functionality and part of Younium are you going to tell us a little bit more about?
Well, actually what I would like to talk more about today is forecast invoicing, and also to show you an easy step-by-step of how you could forecast invoicing, and that it seems maybe not everyone here used the adjust order tool that you just talked about. And also because this is something that you can do on a more regular basis.
All right, so yeah, you said it, and I know from experience that a lot of our customers are using this already, but what are the benefits and how can they really leverage it other than just creating it?
Yes, absolutely. Many of you here today probably use this tool already, and if not, please go and do it right after this webinar. Well, anyhow, this is good for many reasons. If you forecast and actually start with the invoices earlier than the same day or the day before, it will probably save you both time and money in time. So when you forecast and start early with your invoices, you will see beforehand if you have some special cases with your customers. For example, if you need to negotiate an agreement or update it. And there's a few simple steps to do that, which will help you to get a better overview. And that's why I want to talk more about and show you how to add custom fields, which is where you write down, for example, changes in the contract so that you can easily see the remarks or notes before renewal. So the first thing you need to do is add custom fields, which you will find other settings, then go to general and then custom fields. And then you have up to the right add tag that you will come to a box. And here's where you need to tell Younium where you want to see this and how you want to see it. So on entity, you can choose to see it on account level, order level, etc. I've chosen to see it on order level. And after that is the key, and that is only for the API. And then a name. In this case, I just called it before invoicing to make it simple. In field type, you also have different options to choose between depending on what you want to see or do. For example, date and text. I've chosen text, and you will see in the end why. Ideally, you put these custom fields to the order when you create the order, but you can of course add it later. And you do this by going to the order tab choose which order that needs to have this remark and go into that one and then press the 3 dots and choose to edit. And after that, if you scroll down, you will see the field called custom fields and fill in your comment. For example, negotiate billing interval and then press save. And also a reminder, this is only for you and will not be shown on the actual invoice, but you will see it before you forecast invoicing. When this is all set, we want to generate the forecast invoices and see if there are any that need to be handled before we can send out the real invoice. And this you can do under the Invoices tab and then press the 3 dots again. And here you choose, perhaps a no-brainer, Invoice Forecast. And when you are there, you press the 3 dots again, because here is where we need to decide what we want to see. So we need to configure columns and go down to the order field and mark the custom field that we just did, in this case, before invoicing. And also a reminder here, don't forget to save. And now we're done. As you can see to the right, we now have a column that is called before invoicing. And under that, we see what we might need to do before sending out the actual invoice. And of course, you can have several of these and name them after what suits you the best. And you can see it as a friendly reminder from you to you that will help you save time. And also good to remember is that you can only forecast what's renewed and billable. Well, if you do this, you'll see which customers to prioritize and which customers to reach out to either discuss your continued partnership or relationship or any other relevant situations. So this is one way of being more proactive and will hopefully increase your chances of having a good cash flow going into 2023.
Yes, great stuff, Linda. As you mentioned, as I've been repeating now for a while, but it's just so interesting that we are talking to you every day and you are here in this this webinar as well, that we do see customers using this, but maybe to my personal approach is maybe to not its full potential. So what I would like to add is that there is a continued process after this that also could be added, which some of you already do, that we can follow up on this by drilling a little bit further down. Like we could go to, as I mentioned before, for example, to invoice line, like this, maybe not this particular text field, but a similar one. So with that said, it's a really useful tool and you can choose to really drill down to get these reports, get these insights that might be of more importance now than ever. So with that said, now I believe it's time for our second and last poll. So which, who are using this invoice forecast tool today? All right, I think it should pop up any second.
So even between would like to start using it and use it already.
Yeah, and the percentages is not far off from the last poll actually. So we do see some mixed experience in these features that we've been talking about today. So I just want to elaborate a little bit on this. That all right, if you are using this tool already and you feel like you've maximized what you can do with it, reach out to us as well. As we said, we are learning from you, and what we are sharing with you today is also what we've learned from other customers of ours. So basically you in the audience. So even if you, of course, if you would like to start using this tool, explore it, and if you need help, reach out to us or support. But if you use this already and have ideas or thoughts on how you've utilized it already, that could either be good to know or could be in addition to what we presented today, would be super happy to receive that as well.
Absolutely.
And I just want to really say that these two different ways of finding, so what we have discussed today has been both on high level, but also on a very detailed level. But what the two sections really had in common here is really what I started off this webinar with, that, all right, we want to find out more details about the current customer and order stock. So we want to use what we have, but we want to view it in a better way or find out really more information. So with that being said, I think we are running out of time in order to start looking at any potential questions that dropped in. But please drop them before you leave so that we can get back to you with those over text. So to wrap up and not do a live Q&A as we thought we would have time to do, I would just say that we've seen a really big interest in this webinar. It's probably, you know, we were surprised and in a positive way, of course, of how many of you that were interested in this. And for that reason, since it's also our first, we would love your feedback on it. And since we 100%, just from the interest from you, 100% would like to do it again, we would both like feedback on this one, but also maybe more importantly, maybe as important at least, suggestions for future webinars.
Exactly, what you want to hear and learn more about.
Exactly. So you have our contact information here on the screen, and of course that will be sent out as well. So with 1 minute to spare here, I'm gonna say thank you to all of you from my end, and Linda.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, and hope to see you in the next webinar as well.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to speaking to many of you about this in the future.
Absolutely.